Hi everyone, welcome back to Demand Decoded. Dan here as usual, and Phil making a surprise appearance on the podcast today. It's been a few weeks, hasn't it, since you've been on holiday. So yeah, nice to have you back. Today we are covering the state of SEO, really, and the state of AI SEO. It's a topic that keeps coming up in almost every conversation.
Can't ignore it.
We're having with marketers in communities that I'm part of. It takes the hot seat in terms of every single discussion. It's on everyone's mind, like what is happening with SEO? Should we still care about it anymore? How do we influence AI SEO?
Yep.
Should we even be looking at that? What is it? On today's episode, we're going to try and cover all of that for you and give you some insight into what's happening now and what could be happening in the future. Before we get into the episode today, here's a quick word from our sponsors, HubSpot. You don't become the world's most valuable women's sports franchise by accident. Angel Cities Football Club did it with a little help from HubSpot. When they started, data was housed across multiple systems. HubSpot unified their website, email marketing, and fan experience all in one platform. This allowed their small team of just 3 to build an entire website in just 3 days. The result? Nearly 350 new signups a week and 300% database growth in just 2 years. Visit HubSpot.com to hear how HubSpot can help you grow better. So, Phil, SEO, I think let's just touch on that for a moment. Like, where are we at right now? Do we even care about it anymore? And what do we do?
It's a crazy time, for sure. Right, the rules of B2B marketing, amongst other things, are being rewritten by AI. So we've got to look again at what we're doing and why. And so SEO for a long time has played a very central, very predictable, very core role in smart B2B growth strategies, right? And we've all reaped fantastic rewards. But technology drives buyer behavior and buyer behavior drives technology. And currently that cycle is moving very fast in new directions. And we're seeing AI really, really fundamentally shift the way buyers use SEO. And therefore we have to shift the way we think about it. So SEO, the way we used to think about it, the way we did it, is no longer. I think that's fair to say. I think AI will, for the vast majority of people listening, for the vast majority of businesses, with a few exceptions and a few, laggards and early adopters, most of us are in the core where AI is replacing the meaning of SEO in our go-to-market strategies and therefore how we think about it. What do we know? We know that buyers are quickly adopting chat-based interfaces for the ease and for the speed with which they get them information. There was an initial sort of concern that accuracy would be an issue, would be a factor, and buyers would resist or doubt it, but actually that's been quashed, right?
Yep.
One, most AI-based, LLM-based chat tools have quickly figured out that in order to provide the service or the experience buyers want, they've got to enable web search, fan-out queries as part of their offering. So it's no longer relying on the knowledge that the weights within the AI model, have. They're actually doing the prompt engineering for you. They're going out and finding the most relevant, the most accurate content within search predominantly, so you don't have to, making that the new prompt so people are experiencing up-to-date, accurate information, meaning they no longer have to look at blue links at all. They no longer have to go to search results. They no longer have to sift through them. They no longer have to choose which ones to read, compare and contrast multiple ones. AI is doing it. And it's doing it on a scale that we could never do ourselves. Often you're seeing hundreds of pages referenced within a single query in an AI engine, whereas most people would look at 2 or 3, and usually 2 or 3 on the first page. AI doesn't care about the first page. AI is going down to the 10th page to get the most specific results. So going to Google, searching something and picking which pages to visit, it doesn't make sense anymore for most buyers. So yeah, I think there's got to be a drastic rethink about what to do and where and why with the budget and the resources you have available. One critique I have of the way the industry is talking about AI is it's not factoring in scale affordability and like feasibility for businesses. Most of us operate on constrained budgets, resources, so we have to pick and choose where we bet, where we place our money. We can't do it all at once. If we could do it all, it would be easy, right? We'd implement every single recommendation that was given about how to influence AI search, how to update your SEO strategy, etc., etc., etc. But most of us aren't in a position to do that. So I hope that we can share some things that have got like sensible, like sound advice for people who've got constrained, limited budgets with which to do their marketing to grow their business.
Yeah, oh, love that. I think SEO, as we once knew it, is dead. Like it's over. And I say that more from an informational gathering perspective.
Yeah, you can probably say SEO can be divided down into a number of intents.
Yes.
Informational being the big one, the massive one, where we all spent tons of time and effort creating content and getting some reward if we did it smartly and we did it well. And then there's the more commercial and navigational side. And if you draw a line, the informational side of SEO, yeah, gone for most intents and purposes, because AI has so dramatically changed the way information is, found, provided, and accessed.
Yeah, and we've just seen now that AI mode is now active in Europe.
Yeah,
too.
that was an exciting day, seeing that offered to us for the first time without a VPN.
Yeah, well, there we go, right? And we were kind of saying, it's in the US, it's in India, like it's a matter of time before it comes to Europe, and now it's just a matter of time before that becomes the default browsing experience.
Yep.
People will already be trying it out and using it now and using that conversational UI to gather information, but that will become the default and that will be used. And that is, if you're not aware of what AI mode is, it is basically a Gemini-based search experience within Google's default browser that we've all used forever.
Yeah, and as a side note, I think it'll be really interesting to see what the introduction of AI mode does to market share. Up until now, ChatGPT was kind of the de facto leader in the space, but Google's at everyone's fingertips, and I reckon they're going to take a big chunk out of that user base just because of ease of access. So it'll be very interesting to see what it does to that, and it will usher in, like you say, further usher in and advance and accelerate the shift from traditional information discovery and consumption on the informational side and the AI version of that.
Yeah. I would say, like, for marketers, content people out there who are thinking about what to create now, who are doing their content planning, if you're still planning in content around the what is, the how do I do this type content, I honestly wouldn't bother for most industries.
Yeah, and it's not because it doesn't have an effect or an impact, right? These AI tools are still using fan-out queries to search for content that closely matches the answers the question they've been asked. But even if you produce the content that the AI engines find and use to synthesize their answers, what benefit do you get from it? It's so small now compared to what a visit to your website, exposure to your brand, would have created in the past. AI has exploded the variety of queries that users can use, meaning it's just atomized the need for content, and it's also atomized the visibility of any brand that influences the answers. Yeah. So while SEO content created to be found by those AI engines might still be found by them, the purpose no longer exists because it isn't generating what you need as a business out of being part of that answer. It's really interesting to see how that's shifted. But when we see these responses, because we're testing all the time, we're using AI every day ourselves to see what query responses look like. We're testing tools that aggregate that data, analytical tools. One thing that's consistent is brand mentions, brand visibility is almost none. Yeah. You get little snippets of URLs, you get little lozenges.
Yeah, for informational content.
You get the odd link, but not much.
Yeah.
So there's no point.
Yeah.
It's not going to drive your pipeline.
Yeah, when we talk about the other types of searches, like commercial being a main one, well, we'll talk about AI SEO, I think, in a bit, but that's where you can have value on your brand being mentioned, not a cited source of information necessarily, although that could help too, but your brand being mentioned in a list of vendors for a particular pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's informational search, the way AI basically takes the view that most things are common knowledge, right? Most of us weren't creating cutting edge original content that was, completely unseen before. And we've talked today about whether there's still like a space for that, and like, academic journals publishing content to share what they're doing, not for SEO reasons, but because they have to, like, might still fulfill that need. But most of us in business, in categories where there's some competition, not creating net new knowledge every time we publish a blog post.
Yeah.
AI, the way buyers sort of think about AI, I think, or treat AI, is that most of that stuff is out there somewhere already. You gain nothing by being one more business to describe that topic to a buyer that's not going to see your brand, your value prop, your website when they search.
This podcast is brought to you by Blend. We're a B2B website and demand generation agency. We work with ambitious businesses just like yours to create and execute effective demand generation strategies that drive pipeline for your business. We also recognize that your website is the most important asset you have in marketing. So we specialize in building scalable websites on HubSpot that convert the demand that you've created. If you want to find out more about our services and see real results that we've generated for businesses, visit blendb2b.com. I think there is still an opportunity for informational content, but just not in the same mediums. So video, audio, public speaking, things like that, where you can still create a real connection between the audience and you and your brand, still has a lot of, a lot of runway, I think, to connect with people on that level. If we think about what the purpose of informational content that was surfaced through Google was, it was about getting people onto your website to see your brand, have a click ultimately, and then have, potential retargeting opportunities, potential lead capture opportunities, things like that. But the main thing was they knew your brand from that. And people still, are using video more than ever to consume information.
Yeah.
And right now, that is a big opportunity, I think, for brands to still serve some unique informational content with a unique point of view within that and connect with the audience on that level.
Yeah. And I think if your informational content contains a unique point of view, then it to some degree becomes commercial, because it creates a perception of you that is unique to you and can stand apart from the mountain of informational content that just describes topics, in a fundamental way. And also, those types of content have more applicability outside of search anyway, where buyer attention is drifting to other places and other channels and seeking other kinds of content. Because although buyers love AI for what it can offer them, there is still a growing desire for the authenticity side of companies to show through.
Yeah.
So when you're active on LinkedIn, when you're posting videos to YouTube, when you're in other channels that your buyers are using outside of search or AI, those mediums have real cut through potential because they reveal your authenticity and they reveal your point of view, and that can make you stand out from your competitors in that discourse on that topic.
So sure. I think if you're thinking about informational content and you want to produce content like that to share your unique point of view, that's probably the mediums now to do that in. For commercial related content and queries, I think SEO still has a place right now.
So commercially, people still need to get to your website, and there's still a process that they go through in terms of like making a evaluated decision. Yeah. Right. They ideate things, on social platforms, in communities, in real life, with peers. They will probably use a variety of channels and tools to research that. Mm-hmm. AI will play a very predominant role in that, but it won't necessarily drive new brands into their consciousness. But they still need to find the best competitors to whoever their sort of top of mind brands are, which might produce commercial focused queries within AI tools, and they still need to navigate to your website. Yeah. So there is still definitely content to be created and work to be done to get people to you when they're in that later stage of the research process. I think that's what you're referencing there.
Yeah, it is, because people are still I'm still seeing people using traditional search for that type of query as well.
So this is before branded search.
Yes.
Before they go to a website that they know they want to visit, and after informational research is done, they're still looking for the best providers for certain problems in certain categories. And things of that nature.
Yeah, you know, when you think of like the commercial suffixes on the end of a topic, like project management software or solution or best of this thing, I'm still seeing people go to search traditional blue link search to answer those questions.
Yeah.
I think that will be swallowed up by AI as well eventually.
Now that AI mode is will become first and foremost. Definitely, absolutely.
Like for now, it still plays a place. It still has a role within that. But I think more and more people will be turning to AI because of the amount of context you can give it, because of the experience you get from it. Like people's expectations are changing from the research process, the buying process. Having to go to Google, search for, you know, project management software, and then having to do all of that vendor research yourself, clicking into 10 different websites, analyzing the features, the product, the pricing. Like that's no longer a thing when it comes to AI search. Like you can go to ChatGPT, ask for the best project management software, but give it all of the context of your exact situation, ask for the pricing there. Like everything is done for you.
Yeah, what the AI experience allows people to do is take a commercial keyword that would have historically been really valuable and very attractive, you know, best project management software for, you know, I don't know, SaaS or agencies or aviation or whatever, and then like continue to refine it with, you know, specific information to you, your scale, your vertical, your role, your challenge, and get answers that are that much more specific to your query, which is a real change to the way commercial keywords operate. And again, it's that explosion of variety. The opportunity there, though, is that there's far more content on those queries in existence because people haven't historically been creating that really niche-focused, like refined content that's to some degree might be perceived as duplicated to an extent. But differentiated in how it addresses specific concerns for specific types of buyers. And that appears to be an opportunity that we're exploring for content creation that is both SEO and AI SEO focused.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into that a little bit then, because we've spoken, about the importance of being mentioned, like your brand, your vendor information being mentioned in these types of commercial queries now. Which I think is the big play here for AI SEO. It's basically if somebody searches for who is the best to do this, what should I be looking for in vendors to do Y? Like you need to be surfacing in those conversations in the chat interface. And we've been playing with a few different things, and there's some good information out there from the Marketing Against the Grain podcast, also part of the HubSpot podcast network, which most people will be aware of, and they had a episode where they were talking about what HubSpot are doing from a content creation perspective and how they're kind of going down like the industry page route. I think they were referencing where they're looking at the signals that AI is looking to reference, things like stats, data, information, specific ICP, granular detail about what the user might be searching, and they're crafting these unique pages. Say unique, there's definitely, like you say, some duplication, some crossover there perhaps, but in order to be cited for very specific prompts. And we've been trying some of those things, but also some other like informational type content streams as well.
You know, it's really interesting because I think AI has got everyone excited, quite right, but it's worth remembering that artificial intelligence is still a long, long way from actual intelligence, right? LLMs are super impressive, but they're nowhere near the human brain. What the human brain does is almost magical. Our ability to create, to invent, to, you know, because we're both logical and chemical, biological. So AI isn't at the level of the human yet. Meaning, even though what it does is incredibly impressive, even though what it does is probabilistic rather than deterministic, and even though what it does is really, really massive compared to what SEO and Google's algorithmic-based search could do, it's still a system. And it still behaves in some predictable ways because it's still a machine behind the scenes running a set of rules. And so there is a way to say that we can influence the results within that commercial part of the spectrum in a way that means that we're cited more regularly if we align some of the content we create to the query and the needs of the querier, i.e. the LLM, and put content out that is that has far less competition.
Yeah.
So as you said, if you draw together the key information for a very specific niche, very specific user, very specific set of challenges and queries, and you put the relevant information together, even though there'll be some similarity with other content on your website, we've seen already that you can actually become cited in that commercial type of query very quickly under the current circumstances. Impossible to say how long that will continue to be a needle you can move so easily. But at this moment in time, based on what Aja Frost said to Marketing Against the Grain, in terms of what they were seeing being the opportunity of content, which was lots and lots of quite high volume of content focused on these commercial queries, I think is a reflection of the fact that they're not as competitive. AI's got less to choose from, and therefore, for now, there's an opportunity to get a visible result quite quickly.
Yeah. This is content not for search. It may still have some benefit for search. I don't think there's any drawback in creating very specific industry-focused service pages with all of this content that AI is looking to reference. There's no drawback on search.
Quite.
I don't see.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But I think it's important to note that this is content created for a machine.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, ultimately, we're not trying to get somebody to visit this page and consume it in its entirety. We're trying to be featured in the most valuable types of queries in an LLM. And they're not even pages that are part of our user experience once people are on a website.
Yeah.
So, I think you're right. I think these are pages predominantly created for the machines.
Yeah. One other thing that I've been playing around with, and I think I don't want to give away everything here because I think, one, we're not totally sure on a proven method.
We've got more work to do before we're able to say.
I want to make sure that we're getting pipeline and revenue from these things before we actually start saying, okay, this is a playbook that works right now. And also, we're spending a lot of time, money, and effort on figuring these things out. And I would say some of it is intellectual property right now when it comes to the workflows we've put in place and the structured way we're forming this content. So if you did want to dig into any of this deeper, I'm happy to share it on a one-to-one basis. But some of the flows and thinking behind it are quite novel, I think. But one thing I will throw out there that everyone can look into and use is try to become your own source of information. Try to be the source. What you'll find if you go to ChatGPT and put in your category and common searches that might be made to find a solution. So the best project management software available for manufacturing companies. If you put that in and you see what's being cited as the source material, you'll see a lot of listicles, a lot of blog content from vendors themselves.
Yeah, which is something you can, I hesitate to say emulate. It's something you can implement, right? And you can supplant them as the source of information about your brand.
Yeah.
And improve the quality and the frequency of the citations in those critical commercial AI queries.
Yeah.
And we've seen that impact as well.
And it can happen overnight.
Yeah. And you make a really important point, which is that we have to keep asking ourselves why. Why do this? You've got a finite amount of budget to spend. There's a few places that I would say most businesses want to consider, and some are more predictable, more measurable in terms of their pipeline generation. We think this will be important and impactful, but we aren't there yet to be able to say that is absolutely where you should take a chunk of your budget and invest it.
Yeah, not yet. I don't think. I'd like to think we will be able to say that with confidence fairly soon. But yeah, I do think there's a big opportunity to become your own, like, to be the source of those vendor curated lists within a chat interface. And all you have to do really is go into, like I say, like do a few test cases within the chat interface for your category, and I'm pretty confident in most scenarios you will find listicles of vendors being shared from vendors themselves, and they're putting themselves at the top of the list.
Yeah.
And then they're being cited as the best for that, but they're their own source.
So there might be a sound strategy that we recommend or develop, which is to say that two types of content, sort of like the category listicle, and the niche specific commercial pages together in tandem could really enhance your results in those commercial searches. It's quite logical, again, really, when you think about it. User types in a query, AI goes and searches for the most relevant content, of which there will be less by definition. And therefore, if you put something out there that has a degree of likelihood to be, again, when we were creating content for SEO, something I always reminded people was, if nobody ever types that into Google, there's no point creating that piece of content, or at least no point using that title. Like, it's got to connect with users doing something for you to get a benefit. You can publish all the blog posts you like and get zero pipeline from it if it's not connected to user behavior on that platform. We're talking here about, after informational queries have been done, where there's like, I mean, we used to talk about long tail search. The tail is so long now, it's impossible to manage. But we're getting back here into, ultimately, there are only so many categories. There are only, so many types of business that will use a particular company's products and offerings. So there's a bit more concentration on these types of queries, meaning it makes more sense to try to influence those results. And you can, I think, be more likely to have a predictable impact.
And it's easier. It reminds me of like the whole backlink versus internal link conversation, where it's like, oh, well, we're trying to get backlinks, but it's really, really hard. So, okay, we'll just do internal linking, which we can control, which we can manage, and we can have our own impact on that. It's like people are talking about, oh, well, how do we get cited as these sources? How do we get into these places? How do we get into Medium? How do we get into the G2 list? Do it yourself.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. Our stance on internal linking versus backlinking was always, this is so much easier and has an impact almost straight away. But most people overlooked it. I think because, I don't know, there's an allure to being referenced by someone else, and there's a lot of allure to the really high valued backlinking that the algorithms placed on those backlinks. But they were so hard to get. Whereas you could create dozens, maybe even hundreds of internal links and have the same impact. This is it again, right? Most of the advice that I've seen about how to influence the AI engines is all about Reddit, Medium, Substack, Forbes. Like, okay, that's fine. But again, you've got to do a lot of this stuff to move the needle in a measurable way. To your point, if you can become your own source for commercial queries in your category, I think the impact could be realised a lot faster, potentially. We've got to do our due diligence on that, but it's exciting to think about it.
Yeah, we're kind of early stage, and we're sharing the journey with everyone here, right? And everyone's trying to figure this stuff out, and we're trying to figure it out, and we're just kind of sharing that journey. But absolutely, like the amount of work you'd need to do to reference yourself in Reddit and in these other places, like Quora, would be really hard to also be genuine whilst doing that.
And feasibility, again, at scale, right? If you're a medium-sized SME, I think this is probably got this within a mix of a few other activities, probably got more, sense than, and you just can't afford to do all of those things. You can't afford to have a full-going PR strategy that means you're getting featured or guest content into those publications on a weekly basis. You can be generating this material weekly. So it's got real attraction for me for SMEs.
I do worry about the longevity of it, and we kind of spoke about this yesterday, right? I'm worried that ChatGPT, other AI models will have to start thinking about trust signals more, very much like Google did back in the day. We don't know that though.
No, it's an interesting point, and I think it will be interesting to see how the mission of these companies determines their behavior. It's really interesting that ChatGPT now, and probably AI mode, doesn't really seem to care about domain authority.
Yeah.
The way that search did. It'll go as deep as it needs to go to get the more accurate the result. And right now, that's resulting in really, really useful information for people. That's a big departure from Google's mission, which was to provide the most trustworthy content to the users first. It will be really interesting to see how that evolves. And you are right to warn people, because the pace of change is so incredible. There are no guarantees in this world, which is why I think we have to sort of put this strategy, this channel, on the board with the other things that we could do with our budget, and determine where we feel we're going to make the biggest gains. And I think that we're trying to work this out, and people should probably let us do that, before necessarily going all in on that. If it comes at the expense of other things that we would say have got a high degree of predictability or relevance in today's B2B buying journey.
Yeah, and longevity as well. Like building your brand, being known as the go-to vendor for a particular thing is always going to be the number one priority for any marketing team.
Yeah. The lion's share of purchases go to the brand that was top of mind when the need arose. And buyers had long moved away from search for that moment in their journey. That was happening on social, that was happening at events, that was happening in communities, that was happening in webinars and in videos. That wasn't in search anymore, and I don't think AI will bring that back.
No.
So if you are in the mind of your ICP as a credible provider of a solution in a category, that's worth a lot of your time and attention.
AI is replacing search, but all of these things, the vendor selection process is still happening outside of search for a large majority of buyers anyway. Like their vendor list is curated in their mind over times, over touch points with brands, over years sometimes.
Absolutely.
So being within that list that's predetermined in somebody's memory is, the number one strategy for any marketing team.
And for most of us, fortunately, it doesn't take a lot of work, a lot of content, a lot of effort to win in branded search, right? If someone's searching for our brand, Google, the AI tools are usually pretty decent about giving them us. Now, there are situations where companies have the same name, right? So you do have to have some degree of visibility is good, or some sort of nuance that people can to get to you. But Google's pretty good. If you've created a brand and you can get people searching for you while they research other people, you're in a strong position. You're in a really strong position because you're top of their supplier shortlist, you're top of their mind, and there is a statistical likelihood that you will have a very good shot at that deal. You don't need to be part of the research process, the search process, for that to work. And I think, again, if one of those came at the expense of the other, you've got to be really cautious, because if you can't build brand because you're doing this, that might not pay off over the long term. Yeah,
exactly. There's one thing that I actually had that I wanted to cover, which is a comment that I've heard thrown around a few times, since the rise of AI SEO, which is, if you just do good SEO and you rank well using traditional SEO tactics, it will pay off for AI SEO. And I think that is fundamentally not true. And you can prove this out quite easily, as we did yesterday. I think went into Google search and searched for the best B2B web design agencies. If you compare what you get in the All tab in the first 10 blue links with hopping over into AI mode and seeing who is referenced in there, you will not see the same vendors.
Quite, yeah. So, good SEO doesn't do you any harm.
No.
It's not negative.
Absolutely.
But it's also not going to produce the result you're looking for. And again, it comes back to, what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to drive pipeline. Good SEO isn't going to deliver that result. Good SEO may impact AI search results, but that might still not impact you. your business. And I think we've got to be really clear about that and look at what is happening in the buyer. Again, it's about being buyer-centric, not company-centric, right? It's like you can rank for all the things you want to, but if buyers aren't using that information to inform their decisions, it's for naught.
Well, and if the AI models aren't using those ranking signals to inform the content to inform the answer they're giving, which they're not, the correlation between ranking and content retrieval is really poor. I can't remember the exact stat. There's an Hrefs report.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant for users that AI is able to pull from results that are so low down the traditional rankings, because ultimately that levels the playing field again, right? The playing field was leveled when search became a thing, and then it got increasingly unlevel, and if you weren't in the top 3 results, you didn't really have a hope.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. But at the same time, although AI can pull from those deep down results, it doesn't generate brand awareness, brand visibility, traffic to your website when it does.
Yeah.
So it's kind of moot in many cases and not really worth your time or effort to be in those 20 deep informational results. The commercial side, that's got some legs, that's got some worthwhile, it's worth exploring as we're doing, and then building that brand before search. Winning before search, as Pep says, I think is really, really where there's exciting opportunity for businesses still, even while AI disrupts everything.
Yeah. And let's not forget, a lot of the things we do for SEO, for technical SEO reasons, for SEO in general, making headlines more clear with target keywords in there. These things are actually all still great for user experience.
Incredible, yeah.
You shouldn't forget about these things just because people are using AI to search.
I was thinking about this recently, and I was thinking how AI is sort of swallowing up, right, this whole part of the buying journey, the buyer experience. And I think that increases the stakes on our brand creation work or activity, the importance of being a known brand in your category, and the importance of your website user experience being good, right? We've always said, the saying is you only get one chance to make a first impression. And so how you structure your website, particularly your homepage, particularly your hero, particularly your navigation, has always been critical to your conversion rate. Because of the degree to which AI is robbing us of traffic, informational traffic particularly, but also just traffic overall, we're going to get far fewer opportunities to make that first impression.
Yeah.
But every one of those opportunities is going to be vitally important because it's probably going to be a more qualified, better fit visitor to our website. So getting your website user experience right becomes even more valuable, and being a known brand in your category becomes even more valuable. And so I think it's really interesting to think about the effect that this change in search is going to have on the other parts of our go-to-market.
All right, well, I think that probably about rounds off this episode.
We'll have to come back to it for sure.
I think you could come back every single week on this topic.
And we will.
And have something unique to say. That's how fast things are moving. I would say there's probably no more exciting time to be a marketer than right now. People are freaking out, right? But people are also so much more engaged, so much more invigorated about what to do, what's next, how do I figure this out than ever before.
Yeah, I mean we've had a period of time where it was just rinse repeat, right?
Yeah.
We knew what we were doing, we knew how it worked, and we knew how to do it. So we were just doing that. But those moments where we've had an opportunity to figure something out, to be the first or be one of the first, that's incredibly exciting. You can look at this change with fear or with excitement, and I understand both, but it is really an exciting time because there's so much opportunity to change the way we do things.
Yeah, and somebody will figure this out, right? If we think back to Brian Dean figuring out the skyscraper technique, somebody will figure out the AI SEO content technique. Maybe it'll be us.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be somebody else. But if you're part of that initial fold of businesses that can do that, it will benefit you in the long
massively.
run.
You'll have the lead on people. You'll have a window of opportunity. Arbitrage will exist, and it might not last forever, but you'll reap the rewards.
Cool. All right. Well, let's leave it there. Good to have you back, Phil.
Thank you.
And if you would love to follow us, like the episode on whatever channel you listen to or watch on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any engagement is helpful to us. We love to see it. So yeah, we'll leave it there. But thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks all.